laddies and globe defenders. Critical thing from down under, and here I am at Wurim Beach to clarify some things from the last video. There are a couple of things somebody has said I'm making excuses, but I'm here to correct that, just to show them that they're actually wrong. Hey! So the intro for this is going to be a little bit longer than normal. I'll try to keep it as short as possible, and we get to the better stuff a little bit later. But I have to lay the groundwork for the video, so please bear with me. And in the meantime, this picture here, hey, let's guess how far the boats are away, and I'll take guesses in the comments. Now, in my conversations with flat earthers, I've noted a few things, and this is flat earth logic. You presuppose a flat plane, find anything at all that supports this presupposition, and declare whatever you find is irrefutable proof, even though it's not. 100% proof of this, that, and the other, seen it 100 times. Ignore all evidence to the contrary, or alternatively you can call it fake, or you can make up your own science to explain anomalies. I'm sure people can add things to that list. Now, the tactics for arguing for flat earth: attack the person and not the evidence. See a lot of that. Provide no evidence of flatness. I see that all the time. Deflect awkward questions by asking more questions. A very well-known tactic. Bring up the same fake argument ad nauseum, even after it's been explained. Present obviously false arguments. For example, you can zoom in on a ship that has gone over the horizon. And yeah, I've seen the equivalent of put your hands on your ears and go, la la la, I can't hear you. That's when the evidence is getting a bit too hard to refute. And cherry picking, of course. And again, I'm sure that list is not complete. And flat earth thinking is don't look at evidence if it doesn't support your worldview. You can say, I've seen this a lot. Oh, I'm only looking for the truth. But at the same time, ignore any argument. Any opposing argument is ignored, not looked at. It can't be right because I'm 100% certain the earth is flat and nothing will ever convince me. But I'm only looking for the truth. And never admit to being wrong, even though you can show people that they've been wrong. Nope, I wasn't wrong. And treat as gospel any bollocks by flat earth YouTubers. And at the same time, have no respect, zero, nothing, for people that know what they're talking about and actually, in many cases, are trying to help you. So, Toilet Ducky is a flat earther. Now, I don't know if it's a he or a she, but they're not such a bad person. I just have to say that they've just been infected with the flat earth virus. But unfortunately, the Toilet Ducky has tried to make me look wrong and has tried to score points with me and said, not anything really bad. This is pretty mild. I'd say Toilet Ducky seems a good person overall. But Toilet Ducky got a little bit carried away, and I just have to put the record straight. So, just to try and cut it as short as possible, Toilet Ducky wants to tell me where I went wrong. And there was some crazy stuff in here, but about turning left, and I still don't know what all that's about, but we won't worry anything much about it. The 2 points that I'm going to talk a little bit about is there was a little thing in the video, and it was actually, sorry, there was a little thing that you saw going in the background. It was actually a small boat going in the foreground in front of the big ship. And if it was such a small boat in front and you could see it, maybe you could ask yourself, if there was so much curvature, how could you still see it? Now, I did mention the blob in the video. I thought it was going behind the ship, but actually it is actually going in front of the ship. But I didn't pay much attention to the blob. I didn't want to make out it was one thing or another because it was virtually indistinguishable. However, Toilet Ducky wants to make a thing out of it. Wants to use this unrecognizable blob as evidence that I'm wrong. And, alright, you can already tell how crazy this is going to be. And, well, anyway, we'll go on. And Toilet Ducky wants me to watch this video it's from Phuket Word, and there's a cyclist disappearing into a mirror layer, and that's why the ship is disappearing bottom up, and it's got nothing to do with going over the curve. Of course, the ship cannot go over a curve if you're a flat earther, and there's no evidence that would possibly have you believe that. And while I was watching Phuket Word's video, I noticed something in the video where, and I'll show you this later, you'll notice at 3:14 in his video, he actually confirms curvature. And he's drawn a purple line. He says, the purple line shows where the surface actually meets the shore. And the houses on the shore then have to be half underwater. So this is in the same video, right? And the other part about the little thing in the background and everything, and I just wanted to clarify that it was at 9:21 in the video, because at this point I didn't actually see it. Now I will insert that part of the video in here so that you can see what we're talking about. And if you look very carefully, you will see that there's a little dark blob that moves in front of the ship. And like I said, at first I didn't pay it much attention, and I thought it actually went behind the ship, but actually it went in front. And I wasn't going to comment on what it was because it's just too indistinct. There's something that went by there. I'm not really sure what that was, but something went by in the background. I also wanted to explain that the cyclist was not indicative of a ship. And in this Toilet Ducky, he's talking about the blob again, starting to get a little bit insulting. Seriously, do you watch your videos? You can clearly see the object, and then you can actually tracking it moving in front of the ship against the side of the ship. There's a dark spot that moves on the ship. Right. Okay. And somewhere there, Toilet Ducky must have mentioned something about the houses, because, yes, I've watched the video 5 times in a row. There are houses in the video. And why do you say there are no houses? Hey! So, Toilet Ducky's insisting, first, there's no houses in the video. And second, that blob is a boat. And I want to know then, what evidence do you have that it's a boat? Because it's just a blob. And Toilet Ducky said, well, if let's just say it's a blob, what else could be in the ocean besides another boat? Maybe a car? Why can you see the blob? There are no houses in Phuket's video with a purple line. There's a cyclist going over a bridge. Did you see the cyclist going over the bridge? Did you or didn't you? And yes, I'm ignoring the other links you posted because we shouldn't get distracted. So Toilet Ducky has given 2 links for me to watch, but refuses to watch any of my links which are relevant to the argument. Why? Well, number one reason, the links clearly refute the argument for the bicycle, being an example of how a ship does not go over a curve. But I'll get onto that in a minute. And Toilet Ducky's still going on about the houses, and it was their cyclists disappearing like your ship's bottom up. And I'm just saying the cyclist with a camera placed at ground level and watching a cyclist disappear into the mirror layer, it's not the same thing as a big ship over the ocean. And I also say the blob could be 2 things: a navigation marker or even the very top of a small boat. Because if the other boat was in the water, if there was a boat in front of the ship, it would also be over the curve and you would only see the top. But I also state here that it was too hard to make a call on anything. So here's the cyclist, the famous cyclist that is disappearing into the mirror layer. And then this is, of course, how ships disappear. They don't go over a curve. And this is supposed to be the equivalent of my ship disappearing. In this particular video, there was a mirror layer. But if you do the measurements, the mirror layer is not enough to cover the whole ship. And I've already demonstrated that the water line is actually there. And Phuket Word confirms this. Oh dear. And I think Phuket Word even draws a line in the mirror layer there. So I don't know. It's inconsistent. And I then want to point out to Toilet Ducky, but Toilet Ducky won't look at this, that there's no mirror layer in this picture. So the cyclist is totally irrelevant. No mirror layer. It's just ocean with a ship behind it. And everybody's seen this picture. This one too. So now I'm accused of making excuses because I thought that might be a navigation marker. How did they get navigation marker that high above the water so far out? You're making excuses. You know it's a boat. So do you see what I'm saying about the bicycle and the ship? Guess not. Well, I've already covered the bicycle and the ship. And you won't look at the evidence. Hello? So then I'm going, hey, look, there's a navigation marker and there's a picture I've pointed out. This one. Look, navigation marker in the middle of the ocean. And the bicycle hypothesis is smashed by the other video, and Wolfie's won by the picture I shown. And I feel that I'm being wrongly accused of making excuses because there is a navigation marker. And then a little bit later I discover that there's a navigation marker in the channel where I was filming. And I also discover that the ship is somewhere around that area. So, you cannot rule out a navigation marker, and I wasn't making excuses. And then Toilet Ducky is latched onto this again and said, latched onto the blob, right? All the other evidence, the ship's going over the curve, the buildings disappearing, the top of Caloundra, none of that means a thing. We have to concentrate on some unrecognizable blob. We can't even recognize what it is, and this is very important to disproving ship go over the curve, apparently. So now Lol, you really should think before posting anything. I'm so glad you posted this so I could prove you wrong again. Well, yes, dream on. So when your camera is still, the small boat moves out of frame really fast to the right, during which your camera is still momentarily, and the container ship does not move out of frame to the left. If it were a beacon, the beacon would stay fixed in your video and the ship would move. So there's no apology, it's a boat. And before you say, oh, but the ship was moving that fast, watch your video again. It is not. It does not move out of frame as fast as that marker does. Well, at the time, I wasn't in a position to check. So, I'm saying, okay, let's just say it was a boat. I want to know, what kind of boat is it? Where's the hull? How do where is the boat? What's its location? There's none of that stuff. None of that stuff. And so all the time, there's toilet duckies denying how the houses are in Phuket's Woods video, telling me I'm embarrassing myself. I'm thinking that the blob is a navigation marker, and well, I never said it was one thing or the other, and it's obviously a boat. And oh, the houses have nothing to do with the video. The houses were in Phuket's video, and they were about oceans and horizons and things going over the horizon. And we're still going on about the houses. This is the last time I'm replying. You mentioned houses because you were watching the wrong video. You jumped to conclusions without even watching the video I linked about the cyclist. Yes, I'm embarrassing you even further. So, toilet ducky, you're saying I'm watching the wrong video. There are no houses in that video. And because of that, I'm embarrassing myself. Okay. And there I remind you of the quote. He's drawn a purple line. The purple line shows where the surface actually meets the shore. Funny how the houses on the shore are half underwater. Nowhere in my video I provided was there a purple line over water and houses on the shore. Nowhere. I'm so desperate that I start tugging at things that are not relevant. Okay. So when I get done with this, then I'm going to play that video. And one last thing, I went and, after I got some time, I went and looked at the blob. I looked at how far the blob travels in relation to the ship, because I did not know the variable of camera movement. So I plotted the blob in relation only using the ship as a reference. And I found, I can show you this working, but I'm not in this video, but I have the working. The blob moves in relation to the ship 87.4 meters in 9 seconds. And that's a speed of about 18.8 knots. Now, from the ship tracking data, the ship is going 16.7 knots. Now, if it was a navigation beacon, you have to take into consideration the current. I don't know what that was. Maybe the calculations are slightly inaccurate, or there's a current, but there's a 2-knot difference. That more importantly, if it was a boat, it would only be moving at 2 knots. And toilet ducky thinks that it was moving much faster than that, and that's why Toilet Ducky thought it was a boat. But I'm saying, you know, the boat hypothesis is looking pretty weak by now. The navigation beacon is looking a lot better. So now we'll go into the Phuket word video, and then we'll go on with the navigation beacon. So here is the video in question that was originally referred to me to watch all the way through. And here's the section with the cyclist.
The railings get
So
swallowed up in this
the cyclist is there.
As this cyclist rides off into the distance across this flat surface, we'll see the same phenomenon that we observe with ships going off into the distance and assumed to be going down a curve, when in fact we can see that his feet and wheels are now disappearing, but he is also being mirrored by the surface. So we have the surface mirroring half of that, and the actual rider still on the surface and being observed, even though we cannot see his lower half very clearly.
Well, that's actually not too bad an explanation for that situation. It, as I've already said, translating it into a ship on the sea is a little bit different. Now, what I've that's that video, right, with the cyclist. So we go out here at 3 minutes. Look what we have here. Is that houses? Is that a purple line? And the interesting thing is, this purple line is where the horizon is, and it's halfway up the houses. So either those houses are flooded, or there's actually a curve. Good one, Mr. Word.
Of a fjord taken in cold weather shows the same optical phenomenon happening at the horizon. The purple line shows where the surface actually meets the shore on the other side of the...
You heard that. He said the purple line shows where the surface meets the shore on the other side.
Fjord. But then we have this mirroring beneath that and going down to what appears to be the surface of the water.
So he's just said that is the what appears to be the surface of the water, but the real surface of the water is there. So just remember in the ship videos where there's a mirroring line and you can see the water there, but the real surface is at the mirror line. Just like Mr. Word says, you know, he gets some things right sometimes. So here we are at Wirram Beach, and it's a lovely day, and there's no mirror layer, which is really, really interesting. And what's really unfortunate, there was no big ships going by. But anyway, you take the days as they come. Nice clear shot across the water. There's a boat there, sailboat, no mirror layer. Isn't that interesting? Oh, what's this? Could that perhaps be a navigation beacon in the middle of the ocean? Maybe. It's not the navigation beacon, but there is one there. And there's a bit more close. Look, still no mirroring. There you can see that's as plain as anything. A little bit distorted in parts, of course, with the air movement. And so I went searching for the navigation beacon, and while I cannot be 100% certain, I think this is the one. It is in about the right distance and the right direction. And I will play a little bit of a video at the end that shows the direction and distance of that. These are the navigation markers that supposedly don't exist, and and I'm just bringing them up as an excuse. Right, and while I was there, because it was a nice clear day, I've got some shots across to Morton Island, first from the beach and then from further up, about 9 meters up. So I've done the comparison shots here, and as expected, you can see further, not further, lower. So the parallax error between the parallax between the top of the ocean and the island, Morton Island behind, as you go up higher, the curve in the ocean gets lower and you see more. Now, we've been told by the flatties that the curve, the top of the horizon, is as far as you can see. It's a vanishing line. And yeah, okay, so how come I can see the island behind it if the horizon is only as far as we can see? I don't know how to explain that one away. There's your vanishing line, flatties, and I can still see clearly behind it, and some lovely shots of some sand dunes, and again there's a clear difference, and there's some houses near the shore, but oh, you can see the beach now. You can houses near the shore, ocean in front, but when you get higher you can see the beach. Yes, and I'm well aware of the circle of bollocks theory, but you know, it's a load of bollocks, and I'll maybe get to do a video on that one day, but it just doesn't add up. And when I first took this picture here, I couldn't, through the viewfinder, I couldn't make out that was a ship, but there it's a ship, and so I took another photo. Oh, the ship's had the ballast taken out now, and it's floated higher up in the water, of course. And there's this building. Oh, look at that. You can see more of that building. But that's okay. The Earth doesn't curve, does it? There's some other bollocks reason for that, isn't there? Okay, thanks. I'll just play the video of the beacon, and then that'll be it. I'm sorry this one's been long, but thanks for watching, and please put the thumbs up for this one. There's got to be a thumbs up. Okay, see you next time.